Shalom, shalom, shalom. Once again, Zion, shalom. Good to be in the room with everyone. Pray things are going well. This is morehyosh of the ARK, and we are almost out of, or I should say, through with the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and we've had a wonderful week. We give Abba Yah the praise, the honor, and the glory for allowing us to keep the Passover. And it is moving. It is moving by so fast. And it just seems like time period is speeding up. Like it just obviously, man, the feast days, you just look forward to them. You have so much expectation. And then when they get here, it just seems like they fly by. But I pray that wherever you are, that this particular feast day, Passover and unleavened bread, has been a encouragement to you, and you have found a deeper relationship with Abba Yah, because that's really what it's all about. And let us not forget that we are just coming out of our first fruit celebration. And of course, the first fruit offering is the offering that we give to represent how Yah has blessed us in the midst of our um, in the midst of the persecution, in the midst of the virus, in the midst of quarantine, in the midst of whatever's going on. The fact that Yah has chosen to still give us substance, to take care of us, to provide for us, to watch over us. The fact that Abba Yah is faithful even when we are not faithful. The fact that Abba Yah is keeping his word and keeping his covenant to Abraham, our grandfather, even when our people are not faithful to him, is just, it's a marvelous testimony to how wonderful and great our Elohim Yah is. If you all agree with the moray on that, won't you put a 7 in the room? Let's make sure that we can all put a 7. I mean, we can hear each other, we can see, and I see the 7s in the room. And we give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yah. Once again, shalom to the 12 tribes that have been scattered everywhere, all over the world. And in these last days, Yah is waking up his people. Let us remember that the 12 tribes of Israel are 12 sons. They are sons, and these sons of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, has 12 sons. And of course, the first 4 of those sons by the same woman. And in that that particular lineage, you have Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. And let's remember that when we study the scriptures, we need to identify who these tribes are. So, of course, we know that Levi and Judah are brothers. So let's remember that as we study the text, because obviously Moses is from the tribe of Levi. But we also need to realize that the name of this book is Exodus, which actually means in Hebrew, these are the names. And that's very important. I've already dealt with that in a previous video, but the reason I'm bringing it out now is because we really need to remember that the children of Israel is not a made-up people. It's not some type of fairy tale. It's not some figment of a person's imagination. No, these are real people who live real lives and have had a real relationship with Abba Yah. And even today, these real people are still scattered all over the world. And for the most part, according to prophecy, they would lose their identity. They would forget who they are. They would be the only people in the world that the whole world would acknowledge is lost. For oftentimes you hear people say things like the lost tribes of Israel. As though some kind of way, man, Israel lost all 12 of his sons and all of his descendants, all of their descendants just lost. They call them the lost tribes of Israel, and that's in English. And then on the other hand, you've got a whole people all over the world who is completely lost to their identity. Their last name is Smith and Jones and Abernathy and oh boy, they don't know who they are, Zaya. They don't know whose they are. They think that their first name is Bartholomew. I don't know. They think their first name is, you know, Bob and Frank and Charles, and have no idea that we are. So you got in this world existing today is a people who the world says there's a lost tribe. There's lost tribes, tribe of Israel. And then there's a whole people group scattered who don't know who they are. And nobody's putting those together. How about that? The lost tribe are the people who don't know who they are. They're lost. And that's the tribe that those are the tribes that Yah waking up in these last days. The morehyosh Yoshiyahu already starting to make sense. And the video just started. Would you be so kind? Put another 7 in the room. There's only one group of people that the world say is lost, and there's only one group of people who don't know who they are, don't know whose they are, where they come from, don't know their last name or their original language or their Abba or their family members. But Yah is waking them up in these last days. Toda Rabbah. I've enjoyed the study, and we're going to get right into it. I had overwhelming response to last night's video, and so I've kind of been doing like a dual thing in my studies for the rest of the week, and that is I've been trying to put together some information for the people that are brand new and just woke up to the truth and I'm wanting to study and wanting to learn, and then of course I want to continue these studies as we work our way through Passover. We may end up going all the way, doing this teaching all the way through Shavuot, and we'll see. We let Yah decide. So I'll be trying to do that back and forth because what's important is that we all can learn and study Scripture together. And for those of you who've been studying for a long time, um, some of it will be review, but we should be patient because at one point in our lives, someone was patient with us, help us learn. And for all the people who are new, like people who have not read the Bible all the way through or have not studied completely the scriptures and things like that, I'm going to give you some spiritual wisdom. Here's wisdom. Assume the position of a student. The best way to learn anything is to stop trying to teach it. That you don't have to be, listen, nobody here is trying to prove that they're smart. Okay, so we all got messed up by the devil and by the system. We've all been deceived. We've all come out of darkness into light. So the best place to learn, or the best position or posture that you should have during the time of learning, if you're new, is of course is the posture of a student, and that means that we are to humble ourselves. And even though something may seem, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is don't allow your pride to get in the way of you learning scripture. How dare he tell me to start reading from the very beginning of the book? I've been a believer all my life. So now you just already decided I'm not going to read the Bible from the beginning because your pride is telling you that's not necessary. You've been around the Bible long enough. You don't need to read it from the beginning. Okay, well then you're never going to be a good student and you're never going to understand Scripture. You have to take the posture of a student. The Messiah said it even, of course, better than me, but he said, unless you become as a child, and a child takes a position of a student all the time. Unless you become as a child, you will in no wise enter into the kingdom. All right, so just want to put that out there because I got such a great response to that video, and I see that this is still needed in Zion. If you all agree that these messages and these teachings should still go out to help our people that's just waking up understand their Bible, understand the message of the word, would you put a 9 in the room? Just let me know. So I'm gonna put a 9 in this room because these are helpful. Hallelujah. And maybe this time around, Drika and Z can maybe even categorize some of these beginning lessons so that in the future people can refer back to these introductory messages and and help people out. All right, let's get into this. Who them 9s is in the room? Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Zion, I was reading this Bible again, and I was looking at Exodus because we're dealing with Moshe. That's his real name. His real name is Moshe, and of course in English they say Moses, and so therefore many of us, we'll say Moses just because we want everybody to know who we're talking about. But his name is Moshe, and his name means to draw out. His mom gave his birth mother did not name him, but Pharaoh's daughter named him Moshe, gave him a Hebrew name, which means to draw out. And the reason that she named him that is because she literally drew him out of the water, out of the Nile River. And so his life is spared because he was drawn out of the river by her. But she never wanted him to forget who he was and whose he was. When he is grown, and we found out through study that he was a full 40 years old, 44-0. And when he became fully 40, and how do we know that? He counted his years. Every now and then I have to just make these statements because, boy, children of Zion, they'll grab anything they hear on the internet and just run with it. Let us study the scriptures for ourselves. He was a full 40 when he went to go visit his own brethren, which tells me another thing. Forget all these movies that try to show you like Moses didn't know who he was growing up or that he was some kind of way detached from his lineage or his people. None of that is true, Zion. When you read the Bible, you'll find out very, very absolutely, you will find out that Moses was nursed by his own mama. And he did not go into Pharaoh's house as a little bitty baby. He didn't go into Pharaoh's house until he was completely weaned. And in those days, I'm not saying today, I'm saying in the days of our ancestors, a child was not weaned until they was at least like 3 years old and sometimes older. And it's just the truth. When we went over this, there were historians who came online and nurses and stuff who studied this subject, and they say, yeah, there's actually cultures in the world today that are still doing it. So he was taught by his mom. He was raised with his brother and his sister. And then when he moved to Pharaoh's house, of course, she then taught him who he was and made sure he had the best education and made sure he was trained and skilled in everything and had wisdom and knowledge. And there was nothing in Egypt when it came to wisdom, knowledge, training, um, whatever Moshe needed, his mother made sure he got it. I want y'all to understand that Moses was not raised in Pharaoh's house as some slave or step and fetch it or a little shoe shine boy or just raised stupid or dumb, not knowing who he was or whose he was or none of that kind of stuff. No, it's not the truth. The truth is he was probably wanting to do something for his people for a long time. And on the inside and probably talking with his mother, no doubt, it wasn't time. It's just not time. I believe I could hear her saying to her son, you know what? I know you were raised to do something special when it comes to delivering your people. But Moshe, it's just not time. It's just not time. You got to wait. And I know how we are as Hebrew. We're like, I'm 40 years old now. I've been waiting a long time. So he goes out to his brethren, and we know the story. I got all that on previous videos. We're not going to revisit that, but I do want to pick it up. I want to pick this story up. So, we got already 100 and something in the room. Yes, let us pick up this story. Once we get over 100 and some people in the room, it's time to read the Bible, ain't it? Hallelujah. If y'all ready to go just get into this text for tonight, would you please place a 9? One more time, put a 9 in the room and let us know, yes, we are ready to proceed in this story. And the 9s are rolling. And based on what I see from all over the world, hallelujah. Hebrew Israelites all over the world. We want to welcome you all too. Glad you're with us. And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, I'm Exodus chapter 2, verse 11, that he went out unto his brethren and looked upon their burdens and smite an Egyptian, smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. Oh, there it is. Moses is a Hebrew. Woo, y'all. Please let me get, if one of y'all think of Moses one more time as Charleston Heston, we're going to have some problems. If you think of him as a European, as a good old American boy, if you think of him as some gong-slinging Western, if you think of him coming from Europe, France, Germany, Scotland, it doesn't matter. If your mind goes anywhere when you think of Moses, other than this black man from the tribe of Levi in African Egypt, if your mind goes anywhere, this story is not going to make no sense to you. If you don't understand that the scripture is telling you his people are the Hebrews, the bloodline Hebrews. His people are the sons of Jacob, the 12 tribes of Israel. Those are his brethren. And as I mentioned in the text is telling us as clear as day, Moshe was never, ever under some weird delusion that he was an Egyptian. He never thought he was an Egyptian, y'all. I gotta get that. Some of y'all still wrestling with that picture. Get the movies and cartoons out your head. He didn't bump his head one day and was like, oh, what am I? Or he didn't have no weird dream and wake up when he was 40 and go, you mean to tell me that I'm a Hebrew? It's not what happened. He always knew it. And he also always knew that he was going to be used by Yah for something. We'll get to that in a moment. And he looked this way. It's my favorite. And he looked this way and that way. And when he saw that there was no man, He slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. We got it on already. You go back and read it. And he went, wait, and when he went out the second day, behold, two men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said unto him that did the wrong, we've dealt with that already, go back and listen to the other video, wherefore smiteth thy fellow? We know that word means brother. And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? I can answer that question right now. Yah. Yah chose Moshe from birth. But there's always jealousy. There's always a step and fetch it. It's always them snitches. This nation, it, I don't know what it is about Hebrews. We've been struggling with this same type of problem, envy, jealousy, and strife for a long time. If we are going to be a nation without spot or wrinkle, if we're going to be a nation prepared to meet our King, this is one of the things we got to get rid of, Zion. All right. Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Then Moshe gave him that look. Then he said, intendest thou to kill me as thou killest the Egyptian? And Moshe feared and said, surely this thing is known. In other words, can't nobody talk and spread news faster than Hebrews. Impossible. Impossible. How do you say it in French? You can't. How you say it in Germany? How you say it in Spanish? Impossible. Woo, can't nothing fly. No news can fly faster than it can among some Hebrews. We even got a song out talking about don't ask me, because if you ask, I'm going to tell everything I know. It's a rumor, and it spread, boom, like that. And you know, listen, you know, gossip and rumors and news among Hebrew people, our people, can spread faster than the speed of light. Something can happen to you on your way home. On your way home. And before you get through the door, they say, so I heard such and such went on today. What happened? Tell me the real whole story. You'll be like, dang, it just happened like 50 seconds ago. I know, but so-and-so called me, and so-and-so had already called him, and then they called me, and someone called him and told me that, and then I said, well, I'll ask him for myself when he get here. Like, God, what's happening? Oh, we can spread it. We can spread it. Oh, my goodness. And this is how we spread it. We say, now look, don't tell nobody. If you know that Hebrews know how to spread gossip, news faster than the speed of light, more thorough than the Washington Post, they will have deeper insight than CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Fast. Listen, I'm trying to tell you, who and all they got to do to spread it is say one thing: don't tell nobody. It's over. Soon as we say don't tell nobody, shoom, shh, don't tell nobody. Oh my goodness. If y'all know that morehyosh Yahoo is telling the truth about how fast they'll spread in our community, would you please put an 11 in this chat before we go any further? Moshe said it's out there. It only was yesterday. That's my point. And them 11s is in the room. I'm looking at it. It just happened yesterday. How does all Israel know in one day? It's 6 million of y'all. Oh my goodness. Let me get some of this water. Oh, oh shoot. Oh my goodness. And that's how it spread in our community. That's why I said all you've got to do is read the Bible through our eyes. It'll start making so much sense. You say, yep, I can see that. Now, Moses said, man, this thing is out. And I said this the other day. Now, when Pharaoh heard this, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. Now, I want to deal with that. Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh because I mentioned the fact that based on the Hebrew, the way the Hebrew wording is, it strongly suggests that Moshe went to Pharaoh. All right, I just want to show you that. That idea where it says in English, it says, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh. That word in Hebrew suggests a face-to-face meeting, a face-to-face confrontation. And that had to be an evil confrontation, but face-to-face. That something happened where two people were staring each other in the face, and then at one time one ran away. So, do we have any biblical reference for this fleeing from the face of? All right. So let's see if there's another passage. Go with me, please, to the book of Genesis. Let's go to Genesis. Let's go to Genesis. And we will go to 16 and verse 18. Genesis 16. Put that in the room, please. Genesis chapter 16, verse 18. Because, of course, we want to find out, is there do we have any a precept? Do we have a verse? Do we have something else we can see? All right. Genesis, what did I say? Chapter 6, somebody said that. Oh, you sure right. Ain't that something? 8. That's my handwriting. Genesis chapter 16, verse 8. Genesis chapter 16, verse 8. But I told our Rabbi, for those of you who got your books out, hallelujah. No 18, you're right. Verse 8. Verse 8. All right, put that in the room. Drika, if you can, or Z, if you're in the room already. Genesis 16, verse 8. And actually, we could start at verse. We could start at verse 5. Because what happened was Abraham and Sarah, they couldn't have any child. So Sarah's mistress, whose name was Hagar, she conceived by Abraham. And then all of a sudden, she started despising Sarah. And the Bible says, and Sarah, verse 5, went to Abraham. This is what she said unto him, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid unto thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. Yahuwah judged between me and you, Sarai, grandmama, grandma. Come on, grandma. You know what you did. Grandma. Abraham said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. Grandma, did you really slap fire from her? Grandma, be honest. Tell us. You said to Abraham, go in the Hagar and have a baby, and he did. And then the Egyptian, she kind of got beside herself, like, I can have a baby and you can't. And that means that he gonna be my man and not your man. Understand something, you know what I'm saying? And Sarah go back to Abraham and like she walking around here like she owned the joint and like she's your wife and not my. We gonna have to do something about that. And then Grandpa Abraham was like, look, you don't. Hey, that's your servant. Do whatever you feel like doing. Grandma, did you really slap Hagar so hard she thought she got shot? Did you hit Hagar so hard she thought there was 12 gauge went off? Pow! Pow! Hagar, half unconscious. She done conceived. She can't hardly walk. She was like, woo, I had no clue the Hebrews could hit like that. I didn't know that they had that kind of power. Grandma, did you really deal hardly with her? Yes, grandson, I did. It's written down. And what does the Bible say? She fled. Right there. She fled from her face. Is that the Bible? So do we have a background of a face-to-face confrontation? And one of them be like, I'm out of here. All right? So you see you see that there's a background. All right? So we have a precept for that. But not only that, we have a reference for that. It says, and the angel of Yahweh found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, whence comest thou? And whither thou goest? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress, Sarai. All right, so I could go more into that, but let's go back now to Exodus. And we'll see here it says, now Pharaoh, when Pharaoh heard this, he sought to slay Moses. Wait, what? When he heard this, he was going to try to slap Moses, or he was going to try to kill Moses, or he was going to beat Moses, or he was going to whip Moses, or he was going to stab Moses, or he was going to cut Moses' head off. What's going on here? He sought to slay Moses. Okay, remember Sarah hit Hagar so hard she saw stars. And then she said, oh, I can't take this beating ever again. I'm out of here. She's gone. Well, Moshe was like, I'm not even finna hey. Now, I'm not saying he could have got away with it. I just want you to know, I think it was a face-to-face confrontation. And I think Moses was going to explain himself. And I did this on the previous video. I believe that sometimes when we grow up in a culture and a nation that's not ours and we get some position and we get some status, we start getting a little pride and we start believing that we are actually a part and that we're going to get a fair trial and things are going to be okay. All we got to do is go talk to the judge. Then we find out that that judge ain't never forgot that your behind is a Hebrew and that you don't have no business in here in the first place. He had been waiting all this time for Moshe to do something so he could have a right, or he could make up or justify a reason to kill that boy, because remember, he wanted all the baby Hebrews dead. If y'all understand where Moriah is coming at this point and how this is putting this thing together like it's supposed to be put together, put a 21 in this room, please. You're seeing it now. The pieces of the puzzle falling together and fitting perfectly. And at that time, when Moses pleaded his case and Pharaoh wasn't listening, he had his mind made up that he was going to slay Moses. Moses like, but I'm your grandson. Listen here, you little Hebrew. Man, I'm 40 years old. To me, you ain't nothing but, and you know, man, at that point, Moses like, man, it's going to get out of control. And I'm telling you what happened to him. And every Hebrew is built into us. When we find ourselves in a situation between a rock and a hard place, when we find ourselves, well, we use this term, with our back against the wall, something in us say, run. And let me tell you something about us, y'all. Nobody on this planet can run faster than us. Nobody. Nobody. Man, please. Moshe, man, I'm telling you something, man. Moshe reached down and, man, grabbed that cheetah spirit, man, that's on the inside of all of us, boy. Let me tell you something, man. I told you he ran out of there with Usain Bolt speed. Well, he wasn't going to catch him. He was like, man, I'm running. I said, man, well, how you going to get escape? In his brain, he was like, he had already figured out how high he got to jump here, how we got to duck here, run, choo, 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 choo. Man, he weaving in and out of Hamites, man, like Barry Sanders in his prime. And, man, he's spinning and woo, woo, woo. And finally, when he broke free, I'm telling you, man, wasn't nothing but dust. They said, you're going after me. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. Why? He's a Hebrew and y'all Hamites. There's no way. He wouldn't have said it like that. He'd pass it like this. You are wasting your time. For he is a Hebrew. He is a Hebrew child from the tribe of Levi. And you all are nothing. You all are Hamites. Hamite cannot beat the Hebrew Israelites. You're wasting your time. They say, but sir, if you give us a chance, we will catch him. We promise we will catch him. We will catch him. We'll bring him back. He says, you are wasting your time, I tell you. I've watched this little boy. This boy is so fast. He outrun a jackal. I remember when he was a child and we said we're going hunting. He said, I do not need a bow. I do not need an arrow. I do not need a spear. I said, how will you catch the prey? He says, I will run after him. And he took off running. I said, oh my goodness. There's no catching him. I said, man, but he's 40. It does not matter. You can't catch him. Man, Moshe was gone. If anybody in here know that Moshe was out of there, he ran. He ran because he could run. Woo. Now, if you're thinking Charleston Heston, no, he can't run. No, he's a dead man. No, he won't even get out the room. No, he won't even get down the steps. But if we're talking about Moses, he's out of there. If y'all can clearly see that not only did Moreh put you in the scene, but gave you background on why it is very possible that he was standing face to face with Pharaoh before he took off running. That, in other words, that'd be the last time he saw Pharaoh. Would you please do me a favor? Put a 50. Put a 50 in the room. And the 50s is already here, rolling. We discovered they couldn't catch him. Gone. Horses, chariots, didn't matter. Gone. And he does not stop running. He keeps running and running. Hey, man, well, where'd he go? All right, let's go to verse 15 again. And he fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. I think I mentioned this on in the last video. We were talking about our Passover. Believe it or not, y'all, this is our Passover story. That that the person who was born to be a deliverer for our people is leaving Egypt, running from the face of Pharaoh. This story don't look like it's gonna turn out too well, does it? Wait a minute. So we had all that wonderful stuff. Most beautiful child in the world, yes. And the most bright child, yes. Saved when all his brethren were killed in the Nile, yes. Brought into Pharaoh's daughter's house, yes. Raised up in all the wisdom and knowledge of Egypt, yes. Trained in the greatest of the martial of the arts, became wonderful in deeds, yes. Is now out to save his brethren, yes. What happened? The snitches, the stepping fetchets, the yassas, man, spread a rumor, got to his own grandpa, who said, now you got to die, and put him in a place. And now the star of our story, the key figure in the whole scenario, remember the people are in Egypt, right? The figure, he's out. If anybody can understand that this story is taking a weird turn right here, because I thought Moses was supposed to be in Egypt. It's trying to trip me out. How is the deliverer leaving? He's gone. If y'all can see that he is gone, would you put a 100 in this room? If you can clearly see that Moses is gone, y'all. Gone. Gone. I heard one of my brothers say, gone like good candy. Gone. Ain't gonna find him. And that's why I labeled this message, Uncle Moses moved. Uncle Moses moved. He gone. Uncle Moses got out of there. And I know what he was thinking. He was thinking like, I can't believe this. Here I am. I've been waiting for the redemption of people. Man, I did all this training. I'm trying to help my brother. I'm trying to right the wrongs. I get snitched out, then turn around and talking about me. And woo! And now I went to get justice, and the justice, the system is against me, and I end up running. I could see him saying, I'm out. Watch this. It ain't ever going back. I'm done. And all of us, all of our grandmama and them, everybody was saying, where Uncle Moses? Baby Moses gone. Man, Uncle Moshe was like the coolest uncle we had. Yes, but he's gone. He's not gonna come by to see us. No. He's not even, no. Y'all not gonna see Mo. You're not gonna see Mo. Moses is gone. He's not just leaving for a second. He's not just like, let me go around the corner and catch my breath. I'll be back. No, we had researchers in this chat. When I told them how far it was, they immediately started Googling. They was on all kind of search engines. They were trying to figure out what map is the right map, what place is the right place, how much the distance is. How about if you drive? How about if you're on a bicycle, if you're in an airplane or whatever? Boy, they started sending information, and I said, woo, we got studiers. And you know what they came up with? Not one person said that he had traveled less than 200 miles. If you all can clearly see that it was not just Moreh, but that we have people all over the world doing the research, and some of them actually put it in the room. This is a good one. Put a 200 in the room for them 200 plus miles Uncle Moses ran. Uncle Moses ran over 200 miles. Some people say 260, 280, 240. Some people say 290. Whatever it was over 200 miles. So give him a 200 in the room because he was moving. If a man, the average man, if he walks all day, he may can get to a place. He can get to a place where he can cover around maybe between 16 and 18 miles a day, maybe. Which means let's just give him a plus and say 20 miles a day. At 20 miles a day, he would have had to gone, and that's just that's like at a fast one. He would have had to gone something like what? At 20 miles a day, he had to run for 10 days straight to cover 200 miles. But if he was running, and he's on the run. He's on the run. So he runs over 200 miles. I want you to understand why I keep saying that over and over again. He's running. Pharaoh's army has horses. They have chariots. But Moshe is running. And he's running so fast, they can't catch him. And at the end of the day, when he stops running, as soon as he get up in the morning, he take off again. Because remember, at this time, now he is a what? Fugitive from justice. And look at what they're saying. Woo-wee. People understand it. People starting to get to understand it. If you can understand that at this point, he is now fugitive from justice. He's running away from his death penalty, which is not warranted, because in reality, the Egyptian was killing another Hebrew. If you can understand that Moses is now on the run, Uncle Moshe didn't just say, oh, I'm going to leave Egypt and go around the corner, but that he was moving to never come back. If you can clearly understand that. Matter of fact, we need a 1,000 right now. Put a 1,000 in the room if you can clearly understand that when he left Egypt, in his mind, he was never coming back, ever. Woo! I'm so happy Zion got this. I'm so happy you catching it tonight. That Uncle Moses, when he got up out of Pharaoh's face, he was never coming back. And to prove it, he ran over 200 miles away. Where did he end up? Where did he end up going? According to the Bible, it says, and dwelt. That means lived. Y'all understand that? Lived where? In the land of Midian. He chose a place to stop called Midian. Now the question is, where's Midian? Some of y'all got it last time we were dealing with our Passover story. Can anybody can I remember where Midian is? If you remember where Midian is, post it in the room. Let the whole world know. Thank you. It's in Arabia. It's in the area that they now call Saudi Arabia. Wonderful, wonderful. Saudi Arabia. So, if you look on your map, you will see something very interesting. And I'm going to tell you now because we got to revisit this in a few days. Moses, on foot, by himself, runs from Egypt to Saudi Arabia, and he did it probably less than 10 days. Let that sink in. That if he was continually moving and he was walking, it would have taken him maybe about 14 or 15 days. But because we know he was running, because he was on the run being chased, that he made it to Saudi Arabia in around 10 days. I want you to think about that. We just giving him 20 miles a day. That's all. 200 plus miles. Now, if you have a Bible, I want you all to, if you have a Bible map, I want you all to see something that they're not going to teach you all this in school or in college or in seminary. They're not going to show you this because they don't know. They don't want you to understand this information. And even in this Bible that I have, I'm so upset that they don't have a picture of this because this is important to our understanding. But this is all I have for you to show you on the internet tonight. So you see Egypt. So you've got to go over here. Where am I? I want to do this backwards. Yeah. So you see Egypt is here. Moshe runs from here across here to here. This is where Mitzrayim would be. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, not Mitzrayim. Slow down. He runs to Midian. That's where Midian would be. Midian would be way over here. So once again, here's Egypt, y'all. Midian would be over here. They don't show it in this Bible where Midian is. But if you go online, you can see it. It's clear as day. So, Amore, why is that so important? Do you know that to get to Midian from Egypt, he had to go through the land of Canaan? I said, do you know that for him to leave Egypt and get to Midian, he had to go through the land of Canaan? I still don't think y'all caught it. I still don't think you catching on. Let me slow it down. Uncle Moses is leaving Egypt as a fugitive, and he has to run through the land of Canaan. Why am I emphasizing that? Why I keep saying that over and over again? I'm trying to get you to think. That if he could run through the land of Canaan in 10 days, how in the world did it take him, by itself, by the way, how did it take the children of Israel 40 years? He could run through the land of Canaan in less than 10 days. He could, if he by himself, he could go through the land of Canaan. Why did it take him 40 years to get to the promised land? Oh, because it took 40 years because he wasn't, number one, he wasn't by himself. It's them Hebrew Israelites that had him. I bet you the whole time he was leading our people through the wilderness, he was like, man, I ran here when I was 40. Y'all was sweating. I bet every day he would be like, man, when I was 40, I ran here in less than a couple of days. It's taken us 40 years. This doesn't make any sense. But if y'all can clearly see that he has to run through the land of Canaan to get to Arabia. Put a 1,000 in this room, let the whole world know your eyes got open to something. Keep telling y'all, Israel and Egypt and the land of Canaan, they border each other. The land of Canaan borders the land of Egypt. Soon as he left the Egyptian border, he was in Canaan. He kept running and he ran all the way through Canaan and went all the way to Saudi Arabia in probably 10 days' journey. And it took them Hebrews 40 years to get to the promised land. And the 1,000s are in this room. And all I can say is all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yah, because once again, our eyes are being opened. All right. Let me get back in this text. Now, when he got to Midian, according to the text, was he going there to just stop by? Or was he going there to stay? Same verse. And dwelt in the land of Midian. Okay. So there's some questions we need to ask. If y'all ready to proceed, we'll go forward from this point. Put a 1,500 in this room. Let me know that we ready to move on. I know some of y'all still dealing with that whole thing, but let's go ahead. Let's take it a little further. Let's move on. Let's look at Midian. If y'all ready to examine Midian, Midian is where he dwells. I'll write them 1,500s. Hallelujah. Midian is where he ends up dwelling. Now that word dwell is, of course, our English word behind the word dwell. It means to live. He was moving there to live. He wasn't going just to hang out for a couple days and then, no. He was done with Egypt. And really, if he's done with Egypt, he's also done with the Egyptians as well as the Hebrews at this point. No, not the Hebrews, the Israelites. He has to, in his mind say, okay, maybe I'm not the one. Maybe Yah has someone else. Because I went, watch the picture because we're going to see what's called a motif. It's like Moshe say, I went to my own and my own received me not. In other words, what happened? So he's now in Midian. Do you remember the Bible tells us about Hamashiach that he also came to his own. That represents the children of Yisrael. And his own received him not. So we see what's called a motif. And we start to see something that when Yah wants to send someone to help Israel get out of a bad situation, Israel's first response always is to talk about him, put him down, gossip about him, tear him down. The old proverbial crabs in a bucket. Who do you think you are? How you gonna say something to me? You gonna try to do it like you done did so. And we've been dealing with that Zion for so dang long that most of our leaders get to a point where they just say, forget it, just forget it. I'll leave. I'm going to go, in this case, to Arabia, which represents the desert. It represents a place of wandering. It's a place that is just you know, it's wide open spaces. Like, I'm done. So this attitude that is back in Egypt does what? It causes the children of Israel to prolong their suffering. How long? Well, we find out later that Moshe stays in Midian for 40 years. So here Yah had a perfect plan to raise up this son. He had a Elohim, Yah-fearing mama and daddy who put him in a basket, put him in an ark. And of course, then he had a wonderful woman born in Pharaoh's house, his daughter, who trained him to be righteous and have righteous judgment and wisdom and not. Man, Yah had that thing all set up. And then here come the snitches and the stepping fetches, and then they call the law on him, and that thing, you know, he in front of his own grandpa who's the judge, and now he's running for it. He's like, I'm done. And who got hurt the most? It was the Hebrews that had to wait another 40 years. If y'all can see that Mora is trying to make this thing as plain as you possibly can see because of our attitude toward the person that Yah set to deliver us, put a 21. I need the world to see this. Put a 21. I want you all to all see this. I want you to see this before I move on. Just go back to putting the 21 in the room because this is a very important point. I just want you to see it. And the point is, it seems that we always want to kill, talk about, abuse anyone that Yah sends to try to help us. And that, my brothers and my sisters, my Akim and Akoti, that right there is one of the downfalls of our nation. It's a result of a slave mind. Slavery does a lot more damage than just physical damage to people. Slavery causes what's called an epigenetic trauma. Slavery causes a trauma that actually begins to attack a person's genes and begins to alter those genes. I'm gonna give y'all an example of that. I'm gonna give you an example of that. Because I watch it all the time. I don't even say nothing about it now because people do it so often. I'm gonna show you all how the average black person in America, especially if you're a son or a daughter of a slave in America, I'm gonna show you an epigenetic trauma that you do all the time and don't even realize you're doing it. And now that I'm gonna tell you, I want you to pay attention to it. I want you to watch it. And if you got young children, you might want to move them out the way. Maury's gonna say something right now. I'm trying to make it plain. So you say, when you're around each other, you'd be like, you know what, and that nigga this, and that nigga all that, and you know what, he ain't nothing but a such and such. And I thought, and you'd be fussing, man, you know, man, black people, man, they like this, man, blacks is like this, man, you know, and you'd be talking, right? And then as soon as you mention the word white man, you go, man, you know, blacks is like so, and even the white man, nigga, and even the white man is like that, man. You know what I'm saying? And you be loud, and every time you get to say that, your voice go down. Or you be in a crowd of people and everybody be talking, man, you know what, the way things are, so and so and so and so. And man, and that white man, he like, you know what I'm saying? And their voice go down. Every time they mention the white man or the Caucasian or the American, their voice will go down. Watch it. You know what that is? Epigenetic trauma. They don't even know why they do it. Hebrews don't know why they do it. I mean, you could be in an open field just talking to some brothers and be talking about something. And if they say, you know what, man, like, you know, it's hard to get a job and da-da-da-da. And then, you know, and then the white man, you know, must say, he really the one behind all this, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, there's some black people too. But then when they get to the black, they get loud again. And that epigenetic trauma comes from slavery, where you were conditioned to squeal your brother out and protect the white man. You were conditioned that you never speak out against him. So every time you, and I'm talking now to sons and daughters of slaves, every time you get ready to talk about white people or white men, your voice goes down. And when you start talking about black people, your voice go up. It's an epigenetic trauma. And it comes from slavery. And if you don't believe me, from now on, watch it. Watch it. Watch your friends, watch your family, watch yourself. Oh, this desk. So we always have these people, and it's that kind of trauma that oftentimes a leader in Israel can't deal with. And he's like, I don't understand. Please remember everything I'm teaching. I'm trying to bring us to Hamashiach. Because this whole thing has to, if we can't see our King of Kings better, then my whole effort is in vain. So now, but if you can see it, that when Hamashiach comes on the scene, he's dealing with a people who now are experiencing what they call epigenetic trauma. It's trauma that is now has altered their DNA strand. So now there's certain things that they just have blocks. And I'll give you one. He said, "O Jerusalem, O Jerusalem, how often I wanted to gather you together like a hen would do her little chicks, but you won't let me." Why? Epigenetic trauma. So even when your king comes to hug you, when he put his hands out, you think he's trying to hurt you. So you don't know how to act. Ugh. But because slavery has also worked on the other side, you're more willing to open your arms. In the case of Hamashiach, they were rejecting him as a king, but they had their arms wide open to Rome. They had their arms wide open to the empire. They had their arms wide open to Caesar. They would accept everything from him, but they was like this when it came to Hamashiach. How did I get way over there? Oh, I'm dealing with the fact that it's that kind of mindset that had Moses flee out of there. Because remember, Moshe does not have epigenetic trauma. Moshe was raised in a palace. So his mind doesn't have that kind of trauma. So he's not dealing with that. So it's not that he's looking down on the people. He's just like, man, y'all just really don't understand. You can't see. You can't see what I see. Because he's not dealing with trauma. He was raised in Pharaoh's house. And I'm going to prove that to you. I'm going to prove that to you when we get deeper into the story. Because there's not one time, man, you see like Moses, like afraid to go talk to Pharaoh. But our people, our grandmama and grandpa, they was all scared of him. But not Moses. They're like, man, I was raised here. Man, they might do this to you, they might do that to you. Dude, come on, man, stop. I'm finna go tell this man, let my people, that Yah said, let my people go. And he does do it. We'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so that's coming it's coming. But I just want you to know that why was he able to accept that task? Because it was a heavy task to go back to Pharaoh. He was able to do it once he got over his fear, because remember, him and Yah have a conversation. And I'm getting ahead of myself in the story, but he's the chosen one. And if you all have watched any movies, because they've taken, I told you all this, every movie that has ever been written, they took it from your culture. I would say every hero movie, Maybe 99, 95%, because I just thought about some hero movies that, no, that ain't our culture. So I had to quickly say, let me change that. But the majority of all hero type movies, they took it from some story that you all have in your history. Yep. I don't care what the story is, who the story is. It's always related to you. I mean, Samson and the Incredible Hulk. I just go on and on. If I had time to, if I start doing that right now, we'd be here. We'd be doing this all night. The superhero movies. Superman is, of course, Hamashiach. Comes from another place. He's a son. He dies. He has to die, and he's raised again, and all that. He's not Hamashiach. I'm saying every superhero movie is based upon one of your ancestors and one of the characters in this Bible. That's where they get all their themes from. So, and if you notice, Moshe's story was a long time ago, right, in our history. But how many stories have you seen, or how many movies have you gone to, hero movies, where the hero was raised, something crazy happens to him, something goes crooked in their life, and they have to run. And then after they go try to live in seclusion for a long time, the task keeps calling them, and they have to somehow come away from where they were to come back to the task. Every time you see that motif, you know where they got it from? The story and the life of Moses. Of people who still don't really understand and respect him, he gonna have to go back to him. But that is going way ahead of my of my lesson. I don't know how I got way over there, and it's about time for me to shut it down anyway. So let me get some facts of the story that's going to help us later on. All right, he moves to a place called Midian. So was that by accident or was that by choice? And I'll answer that for you. Matter of fact, let me ask you, do you think it was accident or choice that Moses stopped in Midian? Who thinks that? Just write in there, accident or choice. Let's see what somebody said. Choice. Good. Choice. By choice. Okay. Excellent. Why? We hinted to it the last time we were together. Why choose Midian of all places? Why choose Midian? If he chose that place, why did he choose Midian to go to? Anybody know why he would choose Midian? Put it in the room. I'm going to wait for you. Ooh, everybody said choice. That's so beautiful. Why did he choose that place? Does anybody know? Kim is right. Kinship. Distant kin. Yes. Now y'all put it in there. Yes. Kin. Of course. That's the real reason. Somebody keep emailing me. It's kinfolk. Somebody said the Midianite woman. No, it's kinfolk. He's running to kin. That is the truth. And I'm glad you did that. Whoever put that in the room, you're right about it. And all of you else who were thinking that, I want to share something about who Midian is. See, remember, they're not teaching you the truth in school, and they're not teaching you anything in church. They're not teaching you anything in Bible study. They're not teaching you anything at choir rehearsal. You're not learning anything in deacon's meeting or in mother's fellowships, or you're not learning nothing on television, watching all this garbage. Y'all got to stop all that. That's not where the education is. The education is in Torah. So one of the things that they're not teaching you about your people is your people knew your people. Everybody just didn't live, everybody who was a relative didn't just live on the same block. Our people lived everywhere. And to prove it, we have Abraham's seed Say, well, what? Yes. Midian, the man in whom this land is named after, Midian, is Abraham's son. The land that the man that is the land that's named after the man. The man is named after this land. The land is named after Midian. Okay? And Midian is Abraham's son. Somebody say, what? Yes. Abraham had 7 sons by a woman named Keturah. A woman named Keturah. After Sarah dies, Abraham, Father Abraham, gets married again. And he marries a woman named Keturah. And Keturah has sons. And one of her sons is Midian. Let us go to Genesis chapter 25. We're going to wrap this up in a second. Let's go to Genesis chapter 25. We're working our way. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding is going forward, and I love it. Genesis chapter 25, verse 1. Then again, Abraham took a wife. He got married again in the Bible. And her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimram and Joksan and Medan and Midian. Zimram, Joksan, Medan, and Midian. You see it? And Ishbak and Shua. Wait a minute. And Joksan begat Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashuram and Lestushim and Limumim. And the sons of Medan, Ephah, Ephshur, Hanok, and Abida, and Elda. These were the children of Keturah. In the Bible. I said, Maury, wait a minute. If he runs to Saudi Arabia and he ends up in Midian, and Midian is in Saudi Arabia, and Midian is Abraham's son, doesn't that make Midian a Hebrew? Yes. Yes. The Saudi Arabians are Hebrews. All of them. Now, most of the Saudis today are mixed with Romans. Because remember, the Romans, the English, Britain, Rome, Greece came down and conquered that land. And as a result, they killed a lot of people, but for sure raped a lot of the women. It's just what they did, and it was sickening that they did that. They did it to us too. Everywhere they went, them nasty soldiers. So when you're looking at what you see like a white Saudi Arabian, that person has been mixed with Japheth. Most of the time it was the Roman soldiers or the Greeks or whoever came down. The Saudi Arabians you see are mixed with European. But all you got to do, Zion, and if Google ain't listening or and they take it down, Google the Bedouins. Google, and don't look at modern. Go ancient Bedouins and click enter and see if them ain't black people. Type in black Saudi Arabians. Type it in, click the button. Type in black Palestinians, hit the button, enter. And see if you don't see people that look like me and you. They come in curly hair, straight hair, but their skin tone, their eyes, their nose, their facial features, it looks like me and you. They're Arabians. Say, well, wait a minute. I thought we was Hebrews. They're Hebrews too. The only difference between them and us, and I'm talking about back in the day, is that most of them married Hamitic people. But don't let that throw you either, because a whole lot of our people, including Moses later on, marries a Hamitic woman. So our people have been mixing with the Hamites for a long time. So when you look at the Saudi Arabians and people be putting them down and stuff, you looking at your cousins. That's why you look like them. Now, all you got to do, if you're a brother and you're waking up to truth, grow your beard. Grow your beard and go over there. Because when I went there, everybody thought I was from there. Nobody questioned where I was from when I was there until I start talking. Because until I start talking, everybody just thought I was a native there. They were like, man. You know, they start talking to me in Hebrew or Arabic. Man, and then I have to stop them because they just, when they look at me, they just immediately assume I'm either Hebrew or I'm Arabic. Because the majority of the people over there are still black people. They just don't show their faces on television. Those are not the people who they want to promote. Those are the people who are being pushed in the back. Those are the people who are being destroyed. Those are the people that still live in the deserts and the people that are in the slums that don't get on the cameras. But if you go over there and look for yourself, they look like me and you. You know why? Because we cousins. The Saudi Arabians, the Arabs, the majority of them are sons and daughters of Abraham. And I have to tell you, he got married again, remember, and married Keturah. And Keturah has these sons, and then they all have children, and most of them dwell in Saudi Arabia. And they know the difference between, like, say, the original Egyptians who are all Hamitic, and the original Canaanites, that's Cain, that's also Hamitic, and they also know that they are Shemitic. They're from Shem. And therefore, Zion, we got to get rid of this term, anti-Semitic. You got to get rid of that term. That term right there is not a good term, because a Semitic person really should be Shemitic. It's those who are related to Shem. Remember, Noah has 3 sons. And Shem's line comes, or Abraham comes through Shem's line. And most of the, what we call Arabs today, Arabian people today, because remember, and they're not just one group either. It's a bunch of different family members and all that. But if you talk to them, they all trace their lineage, and they're not lying. They all trace their lineage to Abraham. Abraham really is their father. That is not a lie. That is not fabrication. That is not wishful thinking. They are really, honestly, Abraham's descendants. Yep. That's why we got to stop talking about them. That's your cousin. You better stop putting them down. That's your cousin. And start talking about how off they are. Well, look how off you was. Man, they were out here serving man idols and stuff. Man, what was you doing with Christmas trees in your house? Man, but they go to the Dome of the Rock. Well, you was hunting Easter eggs. Well, they believe in Muhammad. You was believing in white Jesus. Uh, 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 uh. One day, Zion, we're gonna put all this foolishness behind us. Kinfolk, that's your brother, that's your uncle, that's your cousin. These are kinfolk. It's your people. With all that oil, they ain't gonna give you none now. Don't go there talking about I need some money. That's not what I'm talking about. We've been separated a long time. Don't think you're gonna go over there and just start claiming oil rights, but I'm just letting you know that they are your cousins, though. That's just the truth. All right, y'all, I'm having way too much fun. We're not gonna ever get out of here. But I wanted to show you that Midian is that's Keturah and Abraham's son. And it's interesting because Keturah's name literally means perfume. And the idea of perfume comes from the idea of smoke. And in this case, it would be thick darkness. So a flume, you know how it puts up thick darkness. So she was a thick, dark woman. So she was thick and she was dark and she was lovely. And as far as he was concerned, Keturah meant that she was like a beautiful, wonderful black woman who was like perfume from Yah. And that was her name. All right. So then Keturah is married to, of course, Grandpa Abraham, and then Midian moves from Canaan, and he moves over into Saudi Arabia, and he's actually by the water because they don't live too far from from the Gulf. And Midian then grows into this nation. And so, of course, remember, Moses is a prince. So Moses, as a prince, has been everywhere. Anywhere there is a place to go, Moses has been there. If you're a prince of Egypt, it's just like any other potentate in the world today. When you read, and I don't think this person's a prince, I'm just making a point. If you read anything in the news about Prince Charles and Prince Harry and how they're always having to go places and do these social events and shake hands with this person and that person and feed this hungry person or go visit this place or whatever, that's what people in power do all the time. It is nothing new. So Moses, no doubt, did the same thing. He knew that those were his people over in Midian, and he also knew the disposition of those people. And so he does not stop running until he gets to Midian and to the Midianites because he knew of that place. So he goes there and he decides that that's where he's gonna. I don't know if at that time he had made up his mind he was gonna definitely stay, but for sure he was going there. All right. And he gets to that place and he sits down by a well. So he is going to his people. He's not running to a wild place random. No, he's going to an actual place where these are his people. And it's very interesting, too, that the name Midian means strife or contention, but it also has to do with to execute judgment or vindication. And it's really strange that it will be in Midian where Moses will be called to then go back to Egypt to execute judgment upon the Egyptians by the hand of Yah. So then you see how wonderfully the Bible, how interwoven and how perfectly that the Bible is put together, even with the names of the places and the people. You can do studies and you will give Yah praise. All right. And then when he gets there, according to the text, he gets to Midian and he sits down by a well. At this point, we're going to start to see what's called more motifs. There's and it's not a big fancy word. It just means you're going to start seeing symbolisms that will repeat over and over and over. Now there may be variations to it, but they will continue to repeat over and over and over again. So now we see Moses leaving Egypt, traveling, and of course, tired, thirsty, sitting down by a well, and something is getting ready to happen. He's going to meet a woman. And as you continue to study scripture, we're going to actually see other pictures of that. But the most prominent one is you're going to see the same thing in Hamashiach, where he's going to be leaving. He's going to be leaving, I think, Galilee or Jerusalem, where he gets into a confrontation with the leadership. And he tells his disciples, I'm leaving. And so then he says, but I'm going to go through Samaria, which is interesting because he's going to go to his distant cousins, his kinfolk. And he goes and sits down on a well, and a woman comes up and meets him, and they end up talking. So these are called motifs, where you're getting a picture of it way back with Moses. And then later on, as you keep reading the text, you're going to see that our great deliverer, Hamashiach, is going to start fulfilling these motifs. Didn't I tell you the one where Moses was born? They said, we're going to kill all the boys, right? That was a motif that starts. So then when we get to Hamashiach, we have an evil man named Herod who doesn't want to lose control of power. So he sends out an edict to kill all the baby boys. So you're starting to see. And you see Hamashiach, instead of leaving Egypt, he's told to go hide in Egypt, but then Yah calls him back out. And same thing with Moses. I mean, you start to see these motifs. They work together. All right. I think this is a good place for me to pause, because we see Moses right now sitting down by the well, and we'll pick it up here tomorrow. Very important to understand that he sits down by this well, and the reason it's the picture of him finally stopping to catch his breath, and he's by a well, and of course wells eventually are going to start representing, water, which represents Torah. It represents what we need to stay alive, and we go on and on. There's a lot of representation there. But one of the things that is very prominent in scripture is that Abraham, when he was sojourning, he dug a lot of wells. And then Isaac also dug wells. And so wells become a part of the Hebrew people. And you're going to start seeing that well. It's going to keep showing up in scripture, that how we are refreshed and how we get our second life or second breath is we get it through the well of the water of the word. And so he sits down by the well for the purpose of refreshing himself after leaving Egypt, makes it to Midian, and I don't want to stop right now, but because of time, we'll pick it up right here tomorrow. And so we know Moshe, on purpose, went to distant relatives that he no doubt knew ahead of time. They had to be people of a pretty nice disposition. And so he goes to Midian, and we're going to find out that he sits by a well, and he's going to have an encounter with the prince of Midian. This is a very powerful passage coming up. I hope you all enjoyed our time together this evening as we try to unravel some of the real truths behind why we celebrate Passover. Passover, it was necessary, y'all. And there's a reason why Yah told us to never forget it. He said to rehearse it every single year, to go over it for all your generations. Don't ever forget this. Why? Because it tells us a lot about us and who we are and what Yah has done and his providence and his care and his mercy, his grace. It shows us our people and our reactions to certain things, and the good and the bad. And it encourages us, because when we get to the end of this story, y'all gonna see that we win. Oh, when the contest actually begins, woo, it's a slaughter. Yah against Pharaoh, it's no match. We'll see that in the upcoming videos. Until then, may Yah richly bless you and keep you. Y'all stay strong. Stay encouraged. I know this lockdown might be getting next to some of y'all, but use this time to stay in your word, to encourage yourself and encourage one another. Always support the work of the ARK. Do whatever you can. Anything is appreciated in this hour. This is what we try to do to help Zion full time. And if you are being blessed, because I'm enjoying this, if you're enjoying it, consider giving us some help along the way. We would really, really, really appreciate it. And look forward. Thank you for the ministers that are in the room. We'll be back tomorrow, if Yah allows us. We're going to pick it up right here with Uncle Moshe sitting down by this well. Until then, to the 12 tribes of Israel, shalom. One love, one love, one love.